From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I am Ahmed Ramadan. Our top story for today: the White House has announced the first U.S. national strategy to counter Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate, addressing long-standing discrimination and violence against Muslim and Arab Americans. It was developed through a government-wide collaboration with civil society. The initiative outlines more than 200 actionable steps to combat hate and promote inclusion. This strategy comes amid rising hate crimes, including the killing of a 6-year-old Wadi al-Fayoumi, an American Muslim of Palestinian descent, in Illinois last year. It builds on President Joe Biden's broader efforts to address bias, including the 2023 National Strategy to Combat Anti-Semitism. Key measures include raising awareness through educating the public about the contribution of Arab Americans, enhancing safety, fighting systemic discrimination, and building solidarity. The strategy also calls on state and local governments, private sectors, and international allies to adopt similar measures. It emphasizes that hate crimes targeting one group threatens the liberties of all Americans. More than 50 members of Congress have faced swatting attacks in the past month, U.S. Capitol Police Chief J. Thomas Manger revealed during Senate testimony. Swatting, involving false emergency calls to provoke armed responses, endangers lawmakers and law enforcement. Manger also reported 700 threats against Congress members during the same period, underscoring heightened security risks amid escalating political tensions. Capitol Police are working with the FBI and local agencies to track offenders, but anonymity, aided by technology, complicates efforts. Strains on police resources persist, with officers clocking extensive overtime to manage rising threats. Swatting cases have surged along growing polarization, with officials calling for stricter penalties and advanced measures to prevent such hoaxes. The spike follows broader safety concerns for public officials, including recent assassination plots. Despite increased funding for Capitol Police, challenges in addressing evolving threats like swatting remain pressing. A report from the Capitol Police Threat Assessment Section showed threats against members of Congress more than doubled between 2017 and 2022. There has been an increased shift towards digital methods like swatting. Time magazine named Donald Trump Person of the Year, marking the second time the incoming president has been chosen for the honor. Time wrote, while Democrats estimated most of the country wanted a president who would uphold the norms of liberal democracy, Trump saw a nation ready to smash them. It added Trump ran on a strongman vision, proposing to deport millions of migrants, dismantling parts of the federal government, seeking revenge against his political adversaries, and dismantling institutions that millions of people see as censorious and corrupt. Time's Person of the Year honor is bestowed on any individual who has greatly influenced the year, whether for good or ill. President-elect Donald Trump rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange on Thursday to mark being named Time magazine's Person of the Year. Trump previously was recognized as Time's Person of the Year in 2016 following his first presidential victory. He joins 13 other U.S. presidents who have received the honor, including President Joe Biden. The Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, has strongly condemned the GOP's decision to appoint Representative Brian Mast as the next chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. CAIR labeled Mast as genocidal and anti-Palestinian due to past controversial remarks. Mast faced criticism last year for a speech likening Palestinian civilians to Nazis and calling for the destruction of Gaza's infrastructure. He also dismissed the innocence of Palestinian children killed in conflicts and suggested those in Gaza should replace their government to stop attacks on Israel. Mast, a former Israeli military volunteer, has been accused by CAIR of prioritizing foreign interests over those of his American constituents. CAIR's Robert McCaw said Mast's extreme views make him unfit to handle sensitive international matters. He said Mast might be the perfect person to serve as a spokesperson for the war criminals of the Israeli government. However, Mast has no business running congressional hearings on sensitive international issues, he added. 2 U.S. Congressmen, Joe Wilson and Brandon Boyle, have urged the Biden administration to adopt a deliberate and phased easing of sanctions on Syria following the collapse of the Assad regime. In a letter to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, they advocated for targeted waivers to support reconstruction, economic development, and foreign investment while safeguarding U.S. security interests. The lawmakers emphasized easing sanctions could foster goodwill, stabilizing Syria, and curb terrorist influence. They highlighted the need to ensure former regime assets and terror networks remain inaccessible during the transition. The overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad marks the end of more than 5 decades of Ba'ath Party rule. The UN estimates Syria's reconstruction could cost up to $1 trillion, requiring robust international support to rebuild the war-torn nation and reintegrate it into the global community. The Pentagon blocks use of Palestine data on Gaza as Congress backs a $883.7 billion defense budget. Details come after the break. Stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to This Hijabi Life. We are here talking to Ayana Ife, who was a contestant on Project Runway.
Before I went on the show, my Umi told me to do 2 things: to be yourself and have fun.
Has an exciting new launch of her activewear, Ayana Active.
My passion project, my baby, is Ayana Active. I sold my first piece when I was 10. I just sort of fell in love with the process of creation.
Fashion gave you a voice where you could scream really loud.
Pattern work, I do all of the designs, I create the collection. Whatever your dream is, don't be shy to say, this is who I am.
Fashion can be such a toxic industry in terms of, using child labor,
We want to encourage women to look deep within themselves and to unleash their own hero.
Women are way more than just our hijabs.
Every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Muslim Network TV.
Welcome back. The U.S. House has passed the $883.7 billion National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, for 2025, despite the Pentagon's 7th consecutive audit failure. Critics, including Senator Bernie Sanders and several House Democrats, condemned the massive military spending, arguing it benefits defense contractors while ignoring pressing domestic issues. Representative Ilhan Omar noted the NDAA includes a provision that blocks the Pentagon from using data on casualties and deaths from the Palestinian Ministry of Health or any sources relying on those statistics. She said it is an alarming erasure of the suffering of the Palestinian people, ignoring the human toll of ongoing violence. Mark Pocan and Barbara Lee lamented Congress's decision to strip a provision penalizing the Pentagon for audit failures, highlighting a lack of accountability. Concerns were also raised over the bill's exclusion of Gaza's health data and controversial policies like denying gender-affirming care under TRICARE, the healthcare program for active duty service members. The NDAA allocates more than $627 million for Israel, despite its aggression in Palestine and unprecedented human rights violations. Representative Ro Khanna called for reducing Pentagon waste and reinvesting in domestic priorities. The bill now heads to the Senate for approval. Hundreds of Syrians took part in the funeral procession of Syrian activist Mazen Al-Hamada, whose dead body was found in Sednaya prison. The prison is known as a torture center of the ousted Assad regime. Hamada, a prominent activist during the Syrian revolution, was rearrested after speaking to international investigators about the torture he endured during detention. Mourners carried Hamada's coffin wrapped in the Syrian opposition flag. A 2017 investigation by Amnesty International concluded murders and torture at Syria's notorious Sednaya prison since 2011 were part of a widespread and systematic attack on the civilian population and constituted crimes against humanity. The collapse of the Assad regime over the weekend and opposition's takeover in Syria led to the release of anti-regime prisoners held in Sednaya and other detention centers. At least 40 Palestinians were killed and 98 injured on Friday as Israeli airstrikes continued to target Gaza. Among the attacks, a strike on a house in the Sabra neighborhood near Gaza City killed 2 people and injured several others, Al Jazeera Arabic reports. In central Gaza, 15 more Palestinians were killed in an Israeli airstrike on a home sheltering people in the western Nusayrat refugee camp, a medical source told Anadolu. The violence follows Thursday's deadly assault on a post office in central Gaza, where 66 Palestinians, including 30 sheltering inside, were killed and 50 others wounded. In retaliation, Hamas's Al-Qassam brigades launched a barrage of mortar shells at Israeli forces in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, meeting Italian President Sergio Mattarella in Rome, called for Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza and for the Palestinian Authority to assume control. He underscored the dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza and escalating Israeli actions in the West Bank, including settler violence and military raids. More than 44,875 Palestinians have been killed, and more than 106,454 have been injured since October 7 of 2023. On November 21st, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice for its deadly war on Gaza. The Canadian province of Alberta has unveiled a border patrol plan allocating 29 million Canadian dollars to bolster security along its 298-kilometer U.S. border. Premier Daniel Smith announced the creation of an interdiction patrol team comprising 51 officers, 10 support staff, drug-sniffing dogs, advanced narcotic analyzers, and drones designed to withstand Alberta's harsh winters. Sheriffs will have expanded powers to arrest individuals involved in illegal crossings or trafficking drugs and guns without a warrant. The province also plans to establish a 2-kilometer buffer zone to enhance monitoring. The initiative comes amid U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's tariff threats, including a proposed 25% levy on Canadian imports if Border Patrol fails to curb drug and immigrant flows. Canadian leaders, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, are crafting countermeasures to protect the nation's economy, which heavily relies on U.S. trade, valued at $439 billion in 2023. The United States has urged India and Bangladesh to resolve their differences peacefully, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said at a news briefing. The call follows Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri's visit to Bangladesh amid strained ties. Diplomatic relations soured after an August uprising ousted Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who fled to India seeking refuge. The U.S. emphasized the importance of dialogue to address disputes. China has demolished the Rabia Qadir Trade Center, a once prominent building symbolizing Uyghur entrepreneurship and identity in Urumqi, in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. Satellite images confirm the site is now rubble. Built in 1990, the 7-story center housed more than 600 shops, conference halls, and classrooms. It played a key role in fostering Uyghur business and intellectual growth. Named after Uyghur activist Rabia Qadir, now based in the U.S., the center had been closed since 2009. Qadir, once a millionaire entrepreneur in Xinjiang, became a political figure after her 1999 imprisonment and 2005 exile. Uyghur activists view the demolition as part of China's broader efforts to erase Uyghur cultural and Islamic landmarks. Thousands of mosques and traditional Uyghur sites have been destroyed or repurposed in recent years. A government worker in Urumqi revealed authorities attempted to demolish the building discreetly, but the implosion and heavy police presence caused alarm. In recent years, Chinese authorities have leveled thousands of mosques and traditional Uyghur neighborhoods and buildings in cities like Kashgar, while turning others into tourist attractions. Specially designed sports hijabs are giving Muslim girls the freedom to play football with confidence. City Academy in Bristol received 50 lightweight breathable hijabs donated by the Sweaty Betty Foundation, aiming to make physical education more inclusive. The hijabs feature secure straps, ensuring comfort and stability during play. Students like Hafsa and Mahal praised the design, noting its adjustability and comfort compared to traditional hijabs. Cultural Awareness Officer Dr. Nora Al-Gohari, who spearheaded the initiative, said the project fulfills her dream of seeing young Muslim girls fully embrace sports without fear. The initiative addresses barriers like unsuitable PE kits and low participation rates among girls, highlighted in government data. Hardeep Kunsal, head of inclusion at City Academy, confirmed the new hijabs have boosted engagement in sports, fostering a culture of inclusivity and empowerment. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate, and for more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.